The story begins with Kazuma dying in a sudden tragedy, regretting only that he wasn't strong enough to protect Yui, the girl who was like family to him. Everything fades, then he opens his eyes as a newborn, drinking milk in a stranger's arms. The woman calls him Ares, and another man enters, commenting that the baby looks like his mother, which makes Kazuma realize that he has reincarnated, and they are his new parents. 5 years pass, and Ares grows up enjoying his second life. He's fully used to his reincarnated body and lives as Ares while still carrying Kazuma's memories, sometimes thinking of Yui when the past resurfaces. One day, after shopping for his mother in Kara, he returns home and immediately spots several carriages parked outside. Ares tells Kaiser to speed up because something smells like drama. Inside, he finds his terrified mother, and Ares immediately shields her from the royal parasites who never get tired of humiliating his mother and calling him the worthless prince. In the Scallan Empire, the largest nation on the Garna continent, the one who rules is his father, and every royal is born with a sacred mark. But Ares has none, and that is why he's treated with contempt. Lady Germa insults him as usual, and even his brothers, Lyle and Hazel, randomly raid his room to torment him. His mother always apologizes, blaming herself, while Ares blames only his own lack of a mark. She is the only family he has, something Kazuma once longed for, so he wants to protect her no matter what. Determined to change, one day he asks Kaiser to train him in swordsmanship. Kaiser suggests asking the Emperor, but Ares refuses to burden his father and insists he wants to grow strong on his own. Kaiser sees the determination in his eyes, agrees to support him, and pushes him to study magic at a Scallan Academy, which Ares only then discovers was founded by his own father, making it the ideal place to train. Ares knows his brothers attend that academy. That's why his mother wants him to hire a private tutor. But he realizes that if he masters both swordsmanship and magic, he can finally protect his family and will become stronger. 3 years later, Ares sets off for the academy. Kara reassures his worried mother that Ares trained hard with Kaiser and will be fine. On the way, the carriage suddenly stops, and Ares' father, the Emperor, appears to personally see him off. He tells Ares not to force himself to act like an adult, to enjoy his school life, and promises to take care of his mother. Ares is moved, realizing how quickly time has passed. And then his father left in a hurry, as he's always a busy man. Some time later, Kaiser informs him they have arrived, and in front of Ares stands a Scallan Academy. As he heads toward the entrance, he hears a commotion, an innocent girl begging bullies to let her go. The bully guy sneers at her for being a trashy commoner and raises his fist to hit her. Before he can strike, Ares steps in, grabs his wrist, and calmly warns him that starting a fight right before the entrance ceremony is a very stupid idea. The panicked girl looks at him in confusion, and one of the bully guys stares back, demanding if Ares knows who he is talking to before announcing that the other guy is the son of the renowned Marquis Gibalg, Lord Zagan. And then his friend Lorenzo steps in and mocks Ares for not knowing Zagan, calling him a commoner. But Ares mentions that the Academy's regulations clearly state that all students must be treated as equals. They laugh at him, claiming nobles and commoners can never be equal. But Ares replies that whatever they believe personally has nothing to do with the girl simply crossing their path. Zagan then stretches out his hand as magic sparks around it, promising to show Ares what a trashy commoner like him deserves, and Ares quickly pulls the scared girl behind him and dodges the attack. Before things get any dumber, a teacher starts yelling at them for turning the academy gate into a fighting ring, forcing the bullies to walk away. While leaving, Zagan mutters in shock that a commoner like Ares managed to read the trajectory of his spell and dodge it at the last moment. Ares also wonders about the girl, then she thanks him and introduces herself as Serena, and Ares introduces himself too. They find out they're in the same class, and Ares suddenly remembers it's a special class for elite, ultra-talented students, and then looks at Serena like, what exactly did she do to get here because she looks way too normal? They continue talking casually, and Ares thinks of his father's advice, realizing he has already made a friend. Together, they rush toward the auditorium for the entrance ceremony, both low-key trembling because they're about to enter S-Class, the place filled with weird prodigies. Once inside, Ares notices that the desks are fewer than expected and assumes the remaining students are probably late or lost, or already expelled. Then the teacher steps in and introduces herself as their homeroom teacher, Coran, the same lady from earlier surprising Ares. She tells everyone to settle down and, noticing the late arrivals, decides not to take attendance yet. Ares wonders who has the nerve to be late on the first day, and then he sees Zagan stroll in like he owns the building, with his pet sidekick Lorenz breathing the same recycled bully air as always. Zagan casually claims he dozed off, earning a warning from Coran. Ares feels annoyed when he realizes this clown is in the same class, but admits that, considering Zagan's magic, S-class placement does make sense. Serena tenses up the moment Zagan spots them, and Zagan immediately opens his mouth like a discount villain. He tells her she reeks of poverty, and Lorenzo piles on with a genius-level observation that commoners probably don't bathe. Ares snaps, tells them Serena is his friend, and warns them to stop. Then Miss Coran immediately calls out Ares' full name and orders him to calm down. Zagan suddenly realizes Ares is from a noble family, but then remembers rumors about a prince born without a sacred mark, and he announces mockingly that Ares is the third prince, the worthless one, completely powerless compared to other royals. Serena is shocked, and Zagan continues laughing, calling him nothing more than a dirtbag. Miss Coran shuts the whole circus down, reminding them she literally watched them try to murder each other outside earlier, but now she just expects them to get along just because they share a classroom. She tells them they can decide to be friends, rivals, or whatever chaotic relationship they want, but violence and verbal roasting are banned in class. If they want to fight, they will do it properly in the mock battle scheduled in a month. The moment those words drop, Ares stands up like someone hit his revenge button and immediately challenges Zagan, saying that for insulting Serena, he's going to make him pay in that mock battle. Zagan is stunned that the so-called worthless prince has the nerve to challenge him, though he claims he couldn't care less about the match itself, and says it'll simply be amusing to watch Ares grovel, telling him to make sure he puts on a good show in a month. Serena, scared and guilty, apologizes to Ares, saying all of this happened because of her, and he tries to calm her just as another boy approaches, saying Ares is right and that status doesn't matter here. He introduces himself as Alger and tells Serena not to let someone like Zagan bother her, adding that, as a fellow noble, he's honestly ashamed of what happened. When Ares looks confused, Alger explains he's from the baronial house of Arendite, and that, unfortunately, their relationship with the Marquis House of Guy Balg is terrible since the Marquis family holds one of the highest ranks in the Empire, while the Arendite house is at the very bottom. He says they are often targeted because Emperor Ragnar favors their house, and despite all the baseless rumors and torn letters, no one can defy the Marquis family because of their political weight, which is the true nature of House Guy Balg. Ares realizes again how obsessed this world is with status, something he already knew from the way people treat his mother, who is a commoner. But Alger says that Ares still stood up to Zagan head-on for Serena's sake, and he genuinely respects that, so he asks Ares if they can be friends, and Ares happily agrees. Another girl suddenly appears and introduces herself as Kagura, saying it is an honor to meet Ares, and Ares accepts her with a smile while wondering why she seems so obsessed with him. Alger, like a walking Wikipedia, explains that Kagura is the eldest daughter of the Marquis House of Brynhildr, a noble who treats even lower-ranking families like his without prejudice, and her sword talent is strong enough to overwhelm adults, so teaming up with her would give Ares the strongest possible ally. Kagura laughs and tells Alger to keep praising her. Ares remembers hearing from his father that the Brynhildr house is honest and upright, and he feels someone like her would probably vibe with Serena, so even though he declared war on Zagan, he knows the mock battle is a team competition, and that choosing the right teammates will be crucial. He thinks about other students like Elver of the Viscount Rune family and recalls Asuna Rune, another girl in their class, who, like Serena, is technically a commoner though her family serves as vassals to the Marquis House of Guy Balg. When he sees Zagan approaching Asuna, he wonders if they're cooking something suspicious. Meanwhile, Ares asks Alger about their next class, when suddenly, Serena runs over saying something happened to Kagura, and they find Kagura staring at her broken sword in shock, crying over losing the treasured blade her brother entrusted to her. As Ares approaches, Zagan appears with his usual creepy smile and casually expresses his condolences, pretending to wonder who could have done such a thing. Ares is ready to tear him apart, but Algar holds him back, reminding him they have no proof, and Zagan mocks him again, calling him a tyrant for making accusations without evidence and saying this is exactly what one would expect from a worthless prince. Kagura keeps crying and apologizing to her brother for losing the sword, and Algar is shocked that Zagan dares to provoke someone of equal rank, knowing she's not the type to stay quiet. Ares blames himself, believing that Algar and Kagura got dragged into this because of him, the worthless prince who always lived in hiding so no one would attack him or criticize his existence. He thinks about how he never had any friends until now and how these people are the first ones he truly wants to protect. And at that moment, he decides there is no way he is losing over something like this. He calls Algar, Kagura, and Serena together and says that in the mock battle next month, he absolutely refuses to lose to Zagan, so he asks them to lend him their strength. Kagura, determined to avenge her brother's sword, agrees immediately, and Serena says she'll do her best with her healing magic, while Algar stands silent for a moment. Ares understands the pressure he faces and apologizes for asking something so difficult, but Algar finally speaks, saying that while going against a marquis family isn't wise, standing by while his friends suffer would bring shame to him, so he agrees to fight alongside Ares. Serena and Kagura thank him, and Ares tells them that together they'll combine their strength and teach Zagan a lesson he will never forget. When the day of the mock battle arrives, Team Ares and Team Zagan face each other like two rival gangs, and Zagan mocks Ares for showing up just to get beaten to his ass, while Ares tells him to look forward to seeing that smug expression twist into frustration. Before their trash talk grows further, Miss Coran explains the rules, saying that the battle is a test of their month-long training, conducted inside a simulated barrier where injuries won't be real, but being hit will cause elimination, and whichever team gets completely wiped out loses. Serena is scared, but Ares reassures her that she has a powerful weapon, though his attention snaps away when he sees Algar suddenly getting hit before the battle even begins, and he yells in shock as Zagan laughs creepily and says this is strategy, the kind expected from a worthless prince who can't keep up. Ares yells at Zagan for launching a sneak attack and tells Miss Coran that Zagan clearly jumped the gun before the signal, but she dismisses it, saying that in a real battle no enemy waits for permission. And while Zagan's decision might be correct for combat, a brand of chivalry with no ethics makes her wonder who would ever follow a man like that. Ares checks on Algar, and Algar, surprised, says his wound vanished the moment he stepped back inside the barrier, which reassures Ares since an attack made before the signal shouldn't count. Kagura, however, warns him not to relax, and when Ares saves Serena from another blow and sees how close it was, he panics and asks both Algar and Kagura if they are fine, while Kagura, annoyed by all the fuss, swings her sword at the enemies, only for them to scatter. Ares is shocked to see Kagura holding a blade, and she says it appeared in her hand before she even realized it. And soon, Ares, Algar, and Serena also materialize weapons, making Ares realize the system is giving everyone the equipment they need. Kagura warns him again when she senses movement, and Ares says it is a feint just as Asuna jumps out with a dagger as she spawned from thin air, making him scream in panic as he thinks Serena will be hit. But instead, Asuna is taken down with blood splattering from her body. Serena proudly announces she did it, and Ares stares at her like she just turned into the final boss that someone from the Rune clan, masters of intelligence and speed, was defeated so cleanly, and even more stunned that a gentle commoner like Serena didn't even flinch after slicing someone like a discount ninja. He finally understands why she was placed in S-Class, realizing her dual attributes are incredibly rare, and her magical ability should be on par with Zagan. Algar observes that Zagan's team is probably moving independently, and Ares agrees as he notices their lack of coordination. So Algar takes the opening and charges forward, eliminating Elva with a clean strike. With only 2 members left on Zagan's side, Algar is thrilled and says they should keep up the momentum, but Ares suddenly hears a strange sound, and before he can react, Algar instantly vanishes. Zagan's creepy laugh echoes through the barrier as he says Asuna and Elva were nothing but sacrificial pawns, and that even if all of them attacked together, they would never threaten him. Ares wonders how Zagan can say such things about his own teammates, but Zagan simply calls them roster fillers. Ares tries to locate him, cursing the barrier's camouflage, when Serena suddenly signals him, and Kagura shouts a warning that the enemy is blending into the background. And moments later, Kagura herself is eliminated after whispering to Ares to avenge her brother's sword. Outside, Lorenzo confronts Serena, saying Lord Zagan wants to handle Ares personally, so she is his responsibility now. He threatens her, saying that although everything here is a simulation, the pain is real, and he plans to make Ares scream in agony before doing the same to her. Serena calls him despicable, and as he gathers magic, she trembles, thinking she has no strength like Kagura, no intelligence like Algar, and no leadership like Ares, and that she has spent every day terrified of Zagan's group, hiding like a useless burden. But she reminds herself that she defeated Asuna. She possesses dual attributes, and if she tries, she can beat Lorenzo too and finally call herself a true member of the team. Meanwhile, Ares is being struck from every direction as Zagan laughs and mocks him for talking big and now looking pathetic. And Ares realizes he cannot match Zagan's physique or pure strength, but remembers Kaiser's training that taught him to use timing to compensate for his smaller build. Thinking about how he only needs to read Zagan's movements instead of confronting him head-on, he keeps dodging until Zagan sneers that running around like a rat won't change anything. When Ares drops his sword, Zagan assumes the fight is over and says Ares will regret ever opposing him. But Ares suddenly hears Serena's trembling voice telling Zagan to stop, saying she won't let him do whatever he wants to Ares anymore. Zagan is insulted that a commoner dares to speak to him, but Serena declares she will fight him because she is done living in fear, only for him to instantly send her flying with brutal force, blood spraying as Ares screams at Zagan for being so unbothered by what he just did. Zagan laughs, calling commoners insects he never pitied, and Ares curses him in rage. Outside the barrier, Serena falls into Kagura's arms as Kagura and Algar rush to her, and Kagura hugs her proudly, saying she fought amazingly, while Miss Koran watches the duel unfold, and Serena hopes Ares can handle the rest. Inside the barrier, Ares keeps dodging as Zagan taunts him to see how much longer he can keep running, and Ares notices that Zagan switched to magic, meaning his guard is wide open because he cannot use sword techniques and magic at the same time. Remembering Kaiser's advice about timing, Ares rushes toward the spot where he dropped his sword earlier near Serena and grabs it, casting Fireball at Zagan, who laughs at the beginner-level spell. But at the same moment, Ares activates Flame Blade and swings through the explosion, slicing Zagan as blood bursts out, leaving Zagan in shock, completely unable to comprehend how Ares managed to defeat him. The next day, Ares' friends gather at his estate and talk about the mock battle, and Ares casually reveals that the flame blade was actually coated with Serena's mana, surprising everyone as he explains that Serena herself isn't aware of it. But when he picked up the sword during the fight, it was already wrapped in her mana. Algar realizes that the mana film must have ignited the moment Ares activated the technique, creating a fusion of swordsmanship and magic, while Serena gets flustered as Algar points out that Flame Blade is an advanced technique no one has ever performed before, meaning Ares is likely the first person to use it in real combat. Ares is just relieved it worked somehow and admits Flame Blade is powerful, but also a double-edged sword, and the only reason he pulled it off safely was because of Serena's dual attributes, since one wrong step could have led him to be destroyed by his own spell. He knows the move is dangerous, but since he defeated Zagan with it, he also knows that if he can perfect it, it will become a terrifying weapon. Even though he won the mock battle, he understands a big part of that victory happened because Zagan was overconfident, and since Zagan is a proud man, he'll definitely come at Ares with full force next time. Ares realizes that as long as he stays at the academy, his confrontations with Zagan are far from over, so he has to master Flame Blade completely. And since the technique is still unfinished, he's determined to refine it until it becomes a unique weapon that only he can wield. After that, he tells his group that even though it was just a mock fight, he's glad they managed to win, but Algar still credits Ares for defeating Zagan. Ares corrects him, saying it was Algar who took down Elva with his spearwork, Kagura who shielded them from Zagan's ambushes, and Serena who defeated both Asuna and Lorenzo. And he believes they wouldn't have one if even one of them had been missing, so he thanks them sincerely. Kagura awkwardly remarks that Prince Ares is exactly how she imagined he would be, and she slips into memories of her childhood, recalling how she always heard that the third prince was same age as her, and that if she married him, the house of Brynhildr would be secure, and how at night she would hear stories from picture books about princes and think he sounded cool. She remembers proudly claiming that the third prince, Ares, belonged to her and that she would protect him someday. She just misunderstood everything with the power of a delusional toddler who could bench press her dreams. From that day, she trained like a maniac. While other kids chased butterflies, she chased moving targets with sharp objects. When she later learned he would be her classmate, everything naturally ended up the way it did. Snapping back to reality, Kagura gets hit with second-hand embarrassment from her own memories and apologizes, cheeks red, regretting that her inner cringe escaped the vault. Ares is trying to process that a dedicated knight in training assigned to him without his knowledge. Right then, Kara appears, asking if they need anything and teasing that it's the first time Ares has ever brought friends home, but Ares quickly waves her off, saying it's nothing important. When Algar asks about her, Ares starts to explain that Kara is his servant and that he's pretty attached to her. But before he finishes, she comes running back to report that Lady Alina has suddenly collapsed. Shocked, Ares panics and rushes toward his mother, terrified of losing another precious person. When Kaiser appears and reminds him that a prince must stay composed at all times before lifting Lady Alina and carrying her to her room. Ares' friends anxiously watch him while he orders Kara to call the doctor, and when he tries to wake his mother, she exhales weakly and tells him not to worry, but with an odd smile, she insists she's all right. Ares doesn't understand until Lady Alina finally admits that the doctor informed her the other day that she is expecting a baby. Ares freezes as Kara happily congratulates her, though Alina looks a bit worried, and Ares' friends give their congratulations as well before Lady Alina apologizes for causing such a commotion. Ares, still stunned by the news of gaining a new sibling, immediately starts to fear the possibility of the baby being born without a stigmata like his, remembering all those bullying arcs all over again, when he and his mother were mocked as low-born. Realizing he has to become stronger not only for his mother, but also for the new life coming into the world, he silently vows to protect his precious family and grow even stronger. Seeing his shaken expression, Lady Alina gently calls him closer. Meanwhile, in another world, Yui misses Kazuma and quietly cries while looking at his photo. The next day at a Scallan Academy, Ares and Algar plan their training while Ares waits for Kagura and Serena, but Algar mentions that Serena is busy, which makes Ares wonder who is taking magic duty today, and before he gets an answer, they notice a strange girl approaching. Ares barely reacts before the girl launches at him like a heat-seeking missile and grabs him in a bone-crushing hug. The impact is so strong that the area looks like someone rage-quit reality, and Algar starts getting suspicious as well. Ares quickly realizes who she really is as the nerdy-looking girl still clinging to him like a koala on energy drinks, and complains that he never came to visit her, even though they now go to the same school. Before Ares can fully process it, she leans in and starts kissing him, forcing him to stop her in a flustered mess, while Kagura and Serena silently simmer with jealousy in the background. The girl then casually asks why he never told her about his new sibling on the way, and at that moment, Algar notices the sacred mark glowing on her left hand. He freezes because there is only one girl with that stigmata, the first Imperial Princess Hilda, and sure enough, the eccentric girl clinging to Ares is revealed to be his older half-sister. She is the full-blooded sister of Prince Lyle and the daughter of Lady Germa, and even though Lady Germa despises Ares' mother, Hilda herself has adored Ares since childhood, acting like a clingy koala who ignores all status differences and treats his commoner mother with genuine respect. To Ares, even if she is only his half-sister, Hilda is his one and only irreplaceable sister, and he means that from the bottom of his heart. Hilda casually notices that she has broken the wall again and mutters about telling their father to fix it, while Ares collapses on the floor, thinking about her ridiculous strength. He knows it is not just Hilda, Every royal with a sacred mark possesses absurd power, and he starts wondering if the stigmata is the true proof of royalty. The empire itself was built around the divine weapon, a Scallan, a holy blade said to have destroyed an evil god, and only those who bear the sacred mark can wield it. Ares used to believe he would never touch something so divine in his entire lifetime. He apologizes to Hilda for not greeting her sooner, saying he was just waiting for the right moment, but she refuses the explanation and loudly orders him to call her big sis, leaving him panicked as he reluctantly gives in. She leans in with that gremlin grin and tells him to say it louder, until Ares finally breaks mentally and screams big sis Hilda. Later, Ares already feels spiritually drained, and the day hasn't even fully started. He knows he never intended to ignore her, but he might have been holding back without realizing it. And when he thinks about Lady Germa doting on Lyle as the heir, he wonders if Hilda's clinginess might actually be loneliness in disguise, so he quietly promises himself to be a better brother to her. Later in class, Miss Coron enters and begins lecturing about the Garna continent, explaining that the land they live on is protected by the barrier of the great goddess Maria. Ares notices the world seems to function as a flat plane, with the Garna continent being the entire known world. Miss Coron describes how, beyond this land, lies a realm of endless darkness, from which the evil god Bahamut once attempted to invade, but the goddess sealed him away. Even now, demons and dragons roam the borders of the continent, trying to break the seal on their master, and the goddess maintains a barrier to keep them out. Kagura raises the point that her father recently subjugated demons despite the barrier supposedly protecting them, and Miss Coron praises her for the question before explaining that the goddess's power weakens every 1,000 years, creating rifts in the barrier, which is why demons have been increasing lately. For Bahamut, this fading power marks a once-in-a-millennium chance to return, and to counter this, a hero and a saintess will be summoned from another world. The idea of otherworld summoning catches Ares off guard, and something about it feels strangely unsettling. Miss Coron continues, saying the weakening barrier marks the approach of a great war, so the Academy must prepare its students by teaching them how to fight demons, and she announces that their next practical exercise will involve subjugating goblins. Ares wonders about it as Kagura confidently says goblins are barely training to her family, and Serena mentions that a goblin once wandered into their garden, and her father chased it off instantly. Considering that this is the S-class filled with elites, Ares questions why they are being sent after such a low-level creature, and Zagan, as chest puffed, suffering from main character syndrome, declaring that goblin hunting is like a game to him, with Lorenzo like his loyal sidekick backing him up. Miss Coron responds calmly and says she knows everyone is thinking the same thing, that goblins are weak, and they want to fight something more worthy, but she warns that their arrogance will crumble once they actually face them. Goblins may be low-level creatures, but their insane reproduction rate and overwhelming numbers make them uniquely dangerous, and anyone who underestimates them will die buried beneath a swarm. Her explanation startles the entire class, and Ares begins reconsidering this goblin subjugation far more seriously than before. The next day, Ares is training for the upcoming battle, while somewhere far away, a girl named Yui sleeps and dreams about Kazuma. In that dream, she finds herself in a strange city that definitely isn't Japan, and she keeps wondering why everything feels so real as she watches a group of children training with actual swords, thinking they look way too young for that, but she convinces herself that anything can happen inside a dream. She notices a boy with beautiful silver hair and refined features for someone so young, and a sudden familiarity hits her as the name Kazuma rises in her mind. Somewhere else in reality, Ares is practicing on the training ground, and he suddenly feels like someone is calling his name from above. But he laughs it off because he knows that's impossible since this world is nothing like Earth, though the sky looks the same. Thinking about Earth makes him worry about Yui, because she was his little sister in his past life as Kazuma, and they were closer than anyone else. But the moment he remembers that accident, he knows Yui must be blaming herself endlessly, even though he feels he is the one who should apologize for failing to protect her. He admits to himself how much he misses his precious sister, and even in this new life, he wishes for her happiness, yet his thoughts are broken when Alger swings at him and shouts at him to look out. Algar panics and apologizes, but Ares knows it's entirely his fault for drifting off in the middle of training. So he forces himself to focus as he grips his sword tightly and starts swinging again while Algar keeps guiding him. Algar signals him to try the technique, and Ares thinks about coating the sword in mana and channeling his fire magic through it before igniting the blade. But the moment he moves the sword, both of them watch another attempt fail. Algar reminds him that flame blade is tricky, and Ares, exhausted, admits he's supposed to be preparing for the goblin subjugation, even though he still hasn't managed to cast flame blade properly even once. Since the spell requires delicate mana control, he thinks back on how Serena pulled it off unconsciously and realizes again how amazing her dual attributes are. He looks over to where Miss Coran is instructing Serena, telling her to compose herself because visualization is the most important part of magic. And since Serena is born with two attributes, wind and water, controlling both at once is tough, but mastering them will make her incredibly strong. Serena, drained but stubborn, keeps trying until a huge magical explosion erupts in front of her, shocking Ares, Algar, and Kagura as they see water and wind burst together. Watching it makes Ares understand the true power of her dual attributes, and he wonders how hard it must be when he himself struggles with just one. But he remembers the sensation he felt when he accidentally unleashed Flame Blade for the first time, and tells himself to trust that instinct because something is missing, even though he can't figure out what. Algar stands beside him, saying Ares has tried everything he can think of, wondering what more he can do, and Ares has no answer. Then Kagura suddenly appears with the speed of a spinning blade, declaring herself his opponent and saying a face like Algar's can't motivate anyone. So Ares accepts the challenge she was already hoping for, and she gets into position with a grin. Ares knows this isn't the time for self-pity, and he's grateful she's trying to push him forward, so the two of them start sparring as he struggles to keep up with her overwhelming speed. He knows Kagura is absurdly strong, practically a natural-born swordmaster whose raw power and perfect blade reading feel like pure divine talent, and she wields that gift so casually that it's terrifying. He forces himself not to lower his guard even for a second, because she is attacking with full force, and when she leaps high and arcs back in the air, preparing a strike, he tells himself again that he's the one who decided to grow stronger, and to do that, he has to surpass Kagura one day. He also knows he can't match Algar in explosive power or Serena in mana, which means he still has a long road ahead. So he decides he will absolutely master Flame Blade while fighting and practicing with Kagura again and again. Eventually, the day of the Goblin subjugation arrives, and it's Ares' first time wearing proper armor, which turns out to be way heavier than he expected. Serena worries if she can even move in it, and Kagura laughs while Miss Coran checks their gear and warns them that anything worn incorrectly can lead to serious injury. Ares realizes how different this is from mock battles in gym clothes, because now it's a real fight. Miss Coran prepares them for teleportation to the Goblin Forest and gives her usual don't die speech. Hat healing won't matter if they are dead, the one that sounds helpful but actually doubles as a jump scare. Meanwhile, Zagan, as usual, mocks everything by saying they're making a big deal out of mere goblins, calling Miss Coran's warning an empty threat, and then loudly mocks that a cowardly prince nearly wet himself over goblins once, sneering at how Ares trained desperately and telling him to just focus on not embarrassing himself. Ares ignores the taunts because all he can think about is how frustrating it was to still fail at Flame Blade even after all the extra training. But none of that matters now because the only thing he needs to focus on is the Goblin subjugation. This is his first real battle, and he is determined to fight no matter what. As the group is teleported into the forest, the horrible goblins begin appearing one after another, and they manage to fight through them. While for Kagura, the whole thing looks like a piece of cake, and Ares quietly thanks her since she keeps cutting down goblins like she is playing some fantasy version of Fruit Ninja. Serena supports them with magic as she activates Tempest Torrent, and Ares watches in awe as wind and water burst out together at the same time, while Algar comments that this spell is something only Serena can cast thanks to her dual attributes. Not wanting to be left behind, Algar grins and says he also trained hard before activating his water spear, surprising the others enough that Kagura demands when he even developed that move. making their first goblin hunt seem like it is going great, or so Ares thinks, until all of them are left panting. Realizing why this place is called the Goblin Forest, since the monsters just keep coming, and there is barely any time to lower their guard. Ares relaxes for a moment, but Serena quickly shouts a warning, and before he can lift his weapon, a goblin leaps in and scratches his arm. Kagura immediately roars at the insolent pest and slices it down, then rushes to Ares in anger and worry when she sees how badly his arm is hurt, and he apologizes because he knows it is entirely his fault for being careless. While watching the others push their limits, he realizes he has only been dragging everyone down, and he curses himself because if he had mastered Flame Blade earlier, the whole fight would have been easier for all of them. Serena tries to lift their spirits by saying they should be reaching the end soon, so this is the final push, and Kagura is already fired up, while Ares stays quiet and forces himself to stop thinking about pointless things and instead focus on finishing the hunt properly. They keep moving until Serena notices the thicket getting deeper and wonders if they are still going the right way, and Ares agrees that reaching this part means they are almost done, but before he can finish the thought, a sudden swarm of greedy goblins bursts out. Serena loses her footing immediately and falls, and the goblins jump at her, but Kagura rushes forward and slashes them away just in time. Ares notices that one goblin escapes, but he fails to react fast enough to stop it, so Alger helps Serena while Kagura chases down the rest, and Ares realizes he has been nothing but a burden the entire time. He decides that whatever it takes, this is the moment he has to make up for his failures, so he goes after the fleeing goblin even when Kagura shouts from behind telling him not to chase too far. Before he can return, a massive hobgoblin stomps out like it owns the forest, muscles popping like it just escaped from a gym. It roars loud enough to shake Ares' soul out of his body, but Kagura jumps in front of him like not today, this creepy creature, yelling at him to stay back as she slices its arm the moment it swings. She confidently declares she is way stronger than some oversized goblin with anger issues. But then Ares notices something strange as a swarm of goblins piles onto her from behind, knocking her to the ground. Seeing her getting dogpiled snaps something inside him, and he screams while running toward her, swinging his sword wildly to clear the path because all he can think about is saving her as fast as possible. He regrets everything, leaving the group, sulking on his own, dragging them into trouble, and hates that she is hurt because of him, while she is the one protecting everyone. The goblins glare at him with those sinister, beady little eyes, but Ares glares back with pure energy. Then, weirdly, the goblins pause and slowly back away like someone just told them the dude is in final boss mode. Then a dark swirling hole forms above Ares, and he just stands there staring at the goblin in front of him as it suddenly screeches and dies on the spot, with a bloodied hand hanging out of the black void. Ares freezes at the sight but immediately rushes toward Kagura, trying to wake her, and when she doesn't respond, he picks her up, determined to take her back to Serena. Before leaving, he glances again at the hole and sees that eerie, bloodied hand still hanging there, wondering what in the world that sinister thing even is. He thinks that if it attacks, they are finished, but he has to save Kagura first, and then he notices that the hand isn't moving at all. Kagura is in terrible condition, and he has no time, so he desperately imagines the hand disappearing, stretching his arm out while focusing on making it vanish, and to his shock, it actually fades away. Realizing he might have created that sinister hand himself, he stares at his palm in disbelief as the thought of dark magic enters his mind, and he wonders if that strange feeling from earlier really was dark magic, and why he even has that attribute in the first place, leaving him staring at his hand in confusion. Ares stays in shock, trying to process how he can even use dark magic. He can't believe it because dark magic is something only the kin of the evil god can wield, a completely forbidden attribute. This world is built on 6 elements: fire, water, wind, earth, light, and dark, and humans aren't supposed to have either light or dark. He keeps wondering how a human like him can use it, and whether that means he isn't human at all. Panic hits him, and he thinks about regrouping with his squad, but something else grabs his attention. A massive black dragon appears out of nowhere. Ares keeps thinking he has never once heard of a dragon showing up in the Goblin Forest. He grips his sword tighter as he and Kagura face the beast, realizing its aura is overwhelming, and there is no way he can fight it with just a sword. He freezes for a moment, unsure what to do as the dragon's eyes lock onto him. But before he can react, the dragon suddenly collapses. When Ares steps closer, he sees it's covered in wounds, its wings torn to shreds, and he wonders what kind of dragon ends up like this. A bright light bursts out of its body, and he panics again only to see, now there's a tiny, plushy-looking baby dragon blinking up at him. He stares at it, thinking this thing went from raid boss to kawaii keychain in 5 seconds. Meanwhile, Ares hears Serena calling his name in the background. Before he can process anything, the dragon jumps at him and vanishes into the ground. Ares realizes it has slipped into his shadow, sinking into the darkness like forbidden black magic, and strange voices start echoing inside his head. Meanwhile, Serena keeps calling out to him as she runs toward Ares and Kagura, lying collapsed. Outside, Ares looks unconscious, but his soul slips into another place. He recognizes the scene instantly. It's his house from his past life, and old memories rush back. He wonders if Yui is inside, and when he looks through the window, he sees her crying with his photo in her hands. He feels the ache of not being able to protect her, tries to reach out and pat her head, but his hand passes right through. He watches Yui's parents comforting her, saying Kazuma is gone, and he sees his aunt and uncle looking completely worn down. He feels guilty for leaving everything like this and hopes they'll take care of his sister. The strange voice echoes again, asking why he's here, reminding him that he's Ares, not Kazuma, and telling him to return. He recognizes it as the same voice he heard when he was reincarnated. The moment he opens his eyes back in this world, everyone is staring like he just respawned after a lag spike. Kagura instantly throws herself on him, hugging him so tight, and relieved, ranting that it's all her fault for challenging a hobgoblin like she was speedrunning stupidity, and that she survived thanks to him. Ares denies it, insisting he's the one who rushed in. Alger jumps in, saying the fault is his, and Serena also blames herself for tripping at the worst moment. Ares wonders if he woke up to a group therapy session and relieves that none of them saw anything, not the dark magic, not the dragon. He thinks back to how the creature went into his shadow and senses that the voice inside him is connected. He realizes a dragon is inside him now, but has no idea why or what he's supposed to do. He considers talking to Miss Koran, but that would mean revealing he can use dark magic, which is forbidden. If he tells anyone, he might drag them into danger, and he refuses to let that happen, so he decides to keep it to himself. Just then, someone shouts if the worthless prince is around. Ares turns in surprise while Alger pulls Serena behind him, reminding her that status doesn't matter in the academy, and no one should step up. The group calling out mocks Ares for failing a simple goblin subjugation, calling him the royal family's disgrace and worthless scum. Ares lifts his gaze and sees his brothers, Lyle and Hayes, Elle staring at him coldly. Ares says it has been a while and quickly gets out of his bed, while Serena hides behind Alger at the sight of his brothers, and even Kagura and Miss Koran tense up. Ares kneels and says he is honored by their presence, but Lyle immediately mocks him, telling him to spare the stiff formalities because he knows Ares does not mean a single word. Ares bows and asks what business brings them here, and Lyle snaps that the shame of the royal family should know they came to gaze upon the face of their foolish little brother, while Hazel laughs like enjoying free comedy. Ares responds that he is grateful for their concern, and Lyle narrows his eyes, calls him the worthless prince, and without warning lands a harsh kick straight into Ares's gut, making him spit blood. He follows it with a series of blows, punching and kicking him like he is crushing a stuffed toy, yelling that being a royal who cannot even subjugate goblins is a crime on its own. Serena panics and begs Alger to stop Ares's brutal brother, but she freezes when he does not move, and even Miss Koran pretends not to see anything. Serena realizes with a sinking feeling that this is the true nature of the royal family ruling the Garna continent, watching Ares being beaten so cruelly despite all of them being children of the same emperor. Kagura then steps forward, introduces herself, and politely asks for permission to speak. Serena feels relieved someone is finally taking action. Lyle stares at Kagura, and she calmly says the failure of the goblin subjugation lies with her, and that if punishment must be dealt, they should deal with her. She kneels beside Ares and secretly winks at him as if telling him to play along. Lyle shouts at her for daring to speak, and Serena and Alger stare in shock, while Alger quickly follows up, saying the responsibility lies with him as well, and he accepts punishment. Serena agrees, saying she feels the same and that if they are to punish Ares, they should punish her too. Ares stares at Kagura, Alger, and Serena in disbelief. He knows he was born without the sacred mark, the symbol of royal blood, and because of that, he has always been an outcast. He remembers his embarrassed mother, and he knows the Scallan Empire rules the Garna continent only because those with the sacred mark hold godlike power. Without it, Ares is no different from anyone else, and that's why he wanted to become strong, to be acknowledged as a real royal even without a mark. Hearing the non-stop taunts from his brothers, he reflects that he always thought this world was nothing but enemies, yet he is standing here with friends willing to risk their lives for him. But Lyle only grows more enraged, yelling that Ares is a worthless failure without a sacred mark. He screams that he is the crown prince, the future emperor, greater than anyone, and orders everyone to grovel before him, saying they should respect him instead of Ares, the trash. Ares senses the danger rising, knowing Lyle's sacred mark carries the same destructive, overwhelming power as Hilda, and he understands he cannot block Lyle's attack. But he refuses to let Lyle hurt his precious friends. Destruction bursts out as they all vanish under the blast, and Lyle mocks that the failure and his little friends must have gone flying. When the smoke clears, and they are all standing unharmed, Lyle snaps, demanding how Ares blocked his power because it should be impossible. Ares is just as shocked, thinking that taking a direct hit from Lyle and remaining completely unharmed makes no sense. But then he hears that voice inside him calling him safe master. He realizes the dragon is inside him and lent him its power, and he understands that the creature was never his enemy. What he does not understand is who the dragon truly is. Before Lyle can explode again, Hilda appears, calling him an idiot for causing destruction yet again. She scolds him harshly, saying he is pathetic, and that if he keeps acting like this, no one will follow him. Lyle leaves in a rage with Hazel trailing behind. Hilda then turns to Ares with a gentler expression, pats his head, tells him he did well in the goblin subjugation, and Ares just stares at her warmth in disbelief. Their first practical skills test ends there. A lot has happened, but by wiping out the hobgoblins in one strike, they manage to earn a passing grade. At the same time, Ares has no way of knowing that somewhere else, Lady Germa patiently waits for Lady Alina to cry over his worthless son's loss. And while Ares finally catches his breath, somewhere in the shadows, a new danger quietly opens its eyes, ready to hunt the worthless prince who should have never held darkness. The real nightmare is only just beginning. Comment. Worthless prince, if you want to find out in part 2.